Off to the Valley is off to the holidays. Hello and welcome to a special episode of Off to the Valley podcast. I'm your host Pratik Panda, and today we're taking a moment to reflect on an incredible journey. 12 episodes, 12 inspiring stories, one unforgettable season. This season, we've traveled the world through the eyes of extraordinary entrepreneurs who dared to leave the familiar and create something remarkable. From Melissa Kwan's $600 leap to New York City, to Esben's mastery of scaling across borders, to Lisa Waden's revolutionary immigration solutions, we've seen courage, innovation, and grit come alive. So, as we head into the holiday season, we've compiled some of the best moments from season 1 to relive the journey, the lessons, and of course, the inspiration. Let's dive in.
I had $600 in my pocket and I moved to New York. And the rest was history. I moved to New York, got an apartment on Airbnb for a couple months. It was all a fear about leaving home. How do you feel accepted and comfortable in a new city? Ironically, even though in New York I didn't know anybody, I felt more at home. I felt more that I could be myself. Everybody was there to accomplish a mission. And I was also on a mission. And then everything in a new place became more connected to who I was at the time. And it turned out to be the best decision I made. After I moved to New York, I also met my life partner, who is now my co-founder to eWebinar. And because of him, I got to leave New York to Nomad for 3 years. And then we eventually found Amsterdam, which we have a home base. It's just a kind of a butterfly effect of things that happen if you take the leap towards something you don't know.
Almost 95% of the people who've come to our traction events, podcasts, I have cold emailed. I do this over and over again. The compound interest on cold emailing people to build relationships over 10 years is a massive network of 120,000 people. Jason Lemkin wrote the foreword on my book. You know how I met Jason Lemkin? I cold emailed him to come and moderate a session. I was a big fan. It took 3 or 4 tries. What happened after that was he was so impressed when he came to that event because he saw Rippling's founder there. He saw Eventbrite CEO, like that chief growth officer at LinkedIn. He's like, how did you get all these people to come to your event? And I said, I cold emailed them all. Even I got on your podcast from cold email.
Yeah. We spoke 2 times and we built an amazing rapport together. That's a perfect example of how you can continue to build your network.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Most people don't ask. Why don't you just ask? It is the easiest thing to do.
I think today you don't necessarily need to be based in Silicon Valley. You can still get a lot of inspiration from being there and network and connections. So it's still good to go there. But I think you can start a startup from anywhere. Maybe to give a bit more insights on that second phase of our story. So when we decided to start Cobalt, that was 2013. I think we wanted 2 things. 1, we wanted to build a company. And 2, we also wanted some kind of adventure, right? And in the beginning, it was very much just like a project kind of thing. We said, okay, let's go build a company. Let's try to build something in 3 months. The goal was to build an MVP and then get 1 or 3 customers.
I think globally, this is how we think about it, and then keeping it region agnostic as of now, is that we have our engineering and technology and product hub in India, and we have our inside sales hub in India, right? So these are, and because of that, we also have our customer success, at least the early support and success in India, right? So this is the hub. And then each region has their own specific nuance of marketing and own specific nuance of the kind of partnerships that we can strike. So, that is how we will, take a look at each region and depending on where the need is, set up the appropriate go-to-market teams in that region, right?
It takes way more courage to ask for help than it does to hide and pretend everything is fine. Now I have the support of coaches, therapists, friends. I also think it's so important to surround yourself with other people who are on entrepreneurship journey or whatever field you're in. They can share the lessons that they've learned along the way. Or in my business accountability buddy has been a game changer. We meet once a month, structure or calls where we reflect on our last month's highs, lows, what we want and start doing the next month. Having this structure has been so helpful because when you're an entrepreneur, it's like, my to-do list is never ending. How do I prioritize the relief? Maybe it is a little crazy, but it does bring structure when things are chaotic. That has been really helpful to have as support around me.
The whole entrepreneurial journey is way too glamorized, and when you open up media outlets, you read about the funding stories, you read about the exits, but you don't read about the burnout. Right? The entrepreneurial journey is always walking on the cusp of burnout. And you as a founder need to be aware of that, give yourself the time and the mental space to counteract it. Otherwise, it will catch up with you, and at some point, you'll fall off the cliff. Now, I was very close several times. Luckily, it didn't happen, but I try to be mindful, set up some routines, some habits that help me counteract the stress that is prevailing to this day.
Dollars are a commodity. Like anyone's dollars are interchangeable. And that's in some ways true of the VC business model. At some level, like we see the fairly commodity business because all VCs are trying to sell dollars to startups at one level. So I advise you founders to think of dollar and function. The brand name VC, like the one who can write the large check, etc., they might serve a function for a startup, or they might not. So founders really have to think how much capital they need, what do they expect this capital to do? Do they want support, access, expertise? Do they want intros? There are many things this broader investor universe can do for founders. And if founders are able to connect that I need this amount of capital, these are the functions I need solved or needing support from. That's a great place to start.
The six of us, there's no way we can keep up with 20,000 founders, but in the community, it's self-serving. Founders are collaborating with each other, ideating, providing feedback to each other, opening doors and sharing knowledge that they have. One person might be an expert at pricing, another is an expert at coding, and they're coming together on, hey, you're building this SaaS product and trying to do price discovery. Here's how you can go about doing it. That magic is happening in the community. I think over time, we will see more and more people wanting to be in this community that then leads to teams forming and raising money, selling to people within the community. I think if we do this right, the community becomes a fully functioning ecosystem of its own.
There is a possible route for transferring your H1B to your own startup, but the reason why it's not very desirable for lots of people is because the H1B has a prevailing wage requirement and has a specific job classification. So if you're a founder of a startup, it's very difficult to pay yourself the prevailing wage requirement because typically startup founders pay themselves a much lower salary. And the core insight at Plymouth is actually many more people are already eligible for the O1 visa pathway than they might realize. And the O1 is great because there's no minimum degree requirement, no minimum salary requirement. You can apply any time in the year and you get an answer within 15 business days if you pay for premium processing. So if you're an entrepreneurial talent, it's just this really great visa that you could pursue.
I would encourage everyone listening to consider a sabbatical at different milestones in your career and your life journey. The reason why is because when we're really busy, we don't have time to process the events that preceded us, whether that's building our startups, whether that is life experiences. One of the beautiful parts of a sabbatical is you get to carve out space to intentionally get those insights and to learn more about yourself. So that's how I felt about my sabbatical. That was really an amazing opportunity to learn more about myself. I'm someone who is very structured, but on my sabbatical, what I learned is I had to let go of that structure.
I really believe that if you don't care personally for the person that you're working with, it's very difficult to be a great leader. No matter how skilled you are in leadership things or management or any tools that you have. I think it all starts from there, and that's what I try to do for my team. The other thing is I think the team needs to know that I got their back, and that's something that I always try to bring it on. And at the same time, this is something that we've been discussing a lot with my team lately. We decided to have this sentence in defining who we are. We are not a family. We are a sport team. In the sense that maybe I'm a bit more like the coach. I like to look at myself as the Ted Lasso of the situation. We're a team that needs to perform. Because obviously, I can have your back personally, but if you're not performing and our clients are not happy with what we deliver, obviously the relationship will work.
People love being part of your adventures and your stories and getting to know you on a deeper level. And at the end of the day, people buy from people is what I like to say, is that you'll be able to sell a lot more if it's coming from you rather than your company trying to promote itself, just being an entity that has no soul. And so I teach people to create founder-led sales strategies. That's one of the main things that I've been doing, and it works quite well. And then I have other content-related playbooks. So one of the playbooks that I used at TendoPay that was probably the single most powerful tactic that we used was creating an industry podcast, not too far from this one.
And that's a wrap for season 1 of Off to the Valley. This year has been an extraordinary journey, and none of it would have been possible without you, our listeners, our supporters, our community. Thank you for being a part of this adventure. As we welcome the new year, I'm delighted to share that season 2 is launching in January 2025, and I can't wait to bring you even more incredible stories of those who left the familiarity of home for new horizons. Subscribe to the channel to stay updated and never miss an episode. Until then, be kind, be happy, and I'll see you in season 2 of Off to the Valley. Wish you a happy new year.